48 hours ago, we found something quite remarkable.
What'd they find?
There's a structure.
In Antarctica?
And a specimen.
Really?
Touching down. This is Kate Lloyd's, Columbia Paleontology.
Let me show you why you flew 10,000 miles. We estimate it's been here 100,000 years.
I'm going to take a tissue sample.
Do you really think that's a good idea?
Yes, I do. You, my friends, will all be immortalized as the people who made this discovery.
Get up off that thing!
Listen, let me start out by saying I don't trust none of you motherfuckers.
Right? Oh, now you don't?
well, especially
more.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I trust that cat. You know what? I don't even trust that cat.
I don't trust the cat. You know how I am with cats.
I don't trust any movie that absorbs the name of the previous movie.
Right.
You know, it doesn't say like The Thing 2 or Thing, The Revenge or anything. It's like, it's a so-called prequel, but yet it has the same name and from what I can see, looks exactly like the same movie. This movie absorbed John Carpenter's The Thing.
It is weird, though, because it's a prequel, not a sequel.
And it is very much
you
a
had
prequel.
Two options. You could go The Thing 0, which is gay, or you could do The Thing : something.
The beginning.
And everybody hates that shit.
Yeah,
I hate that
I hate
shit.
that.
And that was really literally what the producers said, was that it's like, come on, man, everybody hates
They could have easily
Just
just
gonna call
dropped
it The
the.
Thing.
Yeah, just drop the
Just
and just
call it
have
Thing.
thing.
Then everybody would have thought it was a movie about that hand from the Addams Family.
Damn.
I would like to see that movie, actually.
In fact, I think that hand got a lawyer and it's like trying to sue the original, still trying to sue John Carpenter's The Thing. Motherfucker, I'm the Thing. Damn it.
and Ben Grimm is there too. Like, hey, I was here first, pal.
Thing 1 and a Thing 2.
Yeah, from Dr. Seuss.
I see a lawyer's office now with a hand, a big rock man, and Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss. And this guy's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, do something. That's what we hire you for, Saul. But
Is this movie a piece of shit or what? Because I am so fucking nervous about this review. Like, ever since I heard this movie was coming out, I've been on the edge
What
of
you
the
nervous
toilet,
about, Cole?
nervous as
Honestly,
hell.
I felt bad.
that they're going to fuck up everything that I care for and love.
co-host was upset because, first of all, during Fantastic Fest, there was rumor that they were supposed to show the Thing there, and they decided not to. Again, this is all rumor.
It wasn't rumor. Tim Lee flat out said it.
I'm saying because I don't know.
No, he said it in interviews. It's been printed. I mean, I've read the interviews on the internet where he said, "Yes, we screened the Thing because they wanted them to show it at Fantastic Fest," and they said, "I don't really want to say much about the movie except we thought it wasn't a good film to play at Fantastic."
Yeah, so instead they play Paranormal Activity 3,
Right,
which
I
makes
know.
completely another sense.
Well, okay. Now, as much as I love and respect Tim League, our opinions tend to differ rather drastically a lot of the time, and this is going to be one of those.
Well, I
matters.
remember looking at co-host and like co-host thought like, like somebody had just insulted his friend. He's like, what's wrong with the Thing? They can't show it here. What do they mean? It ain't good enough.
Yeah, I was like, because I was like, you know what, please, just show it already so I can fucking just see the thing
Okay, now-
and be done with
Let's
it.
The problem here, co-host, is that you want a definite answer. I mean, does it kick ass or does it suck ass?
Yeah, but there is no definite answer.
And there's no definite answer.
Because-
You're not going to walk away from this satisfied.
Because coming out of this film, I encountered a gaggle of critics.
No shit.
and-
I had to walk through that gauntlet too.
I know, and they were like divided on it. They were fighting about it,
Wow.
whether or not it was a good movie.
Oh, okay. Well, by the time I got out there, all the
was it
people,
just
all the people,
kvetching?
all the people who liked it were gone.
Oh, okay. Because I'm sorry, I actually fall on the side of liking it. I liked this movie, but I can see why some of the people came in with expectations for a very different movie than what this ended up
And the
being.
problem is there's a lot of people who had expectations, but they won't admit to themselves they had expectations.
I mean, for
because when they
instance-
told me what they didn't like about the movie, I'm like, that's clear that you're talking about the first movie.
Let's
It's
be
not doing
clear.
that.
The
Wow.
original is a classic, if not the definitive, like bottle film of
Yeah.
the paranoia bottle film.
Fuck
With
yes,
a bunch
it
of
is.
people closed in a place they can't escape from, and one of them is a killer. And it's also a classic of practical special effects. I mean, when you talk about like actual people getting in there and building super elaborate, like made out of latex and plastic models that just look astonishing. I mean, come on.
That movie was a
It's
pioneer
still
of it, yeah.
pioneer of it. One of the most astonishing films of that
and
ever.
this does not. It's not going to unseat it.
Yeah, I remember watching the original Thing, man, and not the original because that was like 1950 something.
Yeah.
The Thing from Another World.
which is also a really good movie, but in a different way.
I was kind of bored by that one, but when they got to like John Carpenter's The Thing, I remember being a kid and there's a scene where the creature in that movie is absorbing like this dog, and knowing then there wasn't any CG, that shit looked real. I was mad because I was like, man, they killed that dog.
It looked like real dogs getting killed.
Like, that's not special effects. No way. They murdered that dog. In fact, they went to Area 51, got an alien to kill this dog. That looks too good.
It was like one of those things where it looked like you were really watching a crime happening on screen.
Being as a prequel, they want to find out what happened to the Norwegian team that discovered this alien creature before we see the events of Kurt Russell and the rest of those guys in John Carpenter's film, which came out, 1983?
I think so.
Yeah,
sure. Why not?
I want to say it was 82.
Actually, would have been 82 because they say it. The date
it was 82.
Yeah, it's
82. Okay, so you've got the story taking place probably a few days before some Norwegians stumbling upon, right in the beginning, they literally stumble upon as their ice crawler falls through a giant crack in the ice and gets
fantastic
wedged.
Effect they do with that too.
Yeah, but right below them is a gigantic alien spacecraft. Next thing you know, we're back in America and you're seeing like this Norwegian scientist who's shopping for other scientists basically to come bring back there to start investigating this. And he's talking to, what's her name?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
So he's like, well, yeah, we need you to come back and take a look at this thing. All I can tell you is that we found a giant structure in the ice in Antarctica and we found a body.
She's a paleontologist. She's like, I need you. Can't tell nobody. I'm not going to tell you nothing. You just got to come out here and see it.
Having seen the thing, you're holding back from screaming at the screen. Don't do it.
Right.
Don't. Go to that Jurassic Park island instead. It'll be better. And they go flying out there and they investigate. Turns out they found this giant fucking alien body in the ice right near it too. They bring it back to their station and there are all these guys there. There's like a bunch of Norwegians. There's a couple helicopter pilots that are American, played by Joel Edgerton and
out of BC from Oz.
Yeah, out of BC from Oz. Yeah, thank you. That's his name. From now on.
I'm not even trying to say his name.
Adewale. Okay, John.
Mr. Gecko.
Yeah, Mr. Gecko. There you go.
There you go.
And so they're like, wow, this is fantastic. We found alien life. Let's party. And the thing busts out of the ice. Disappears. From there on, you've got a long period of basically a movie like the original Thing for a while, where you're watching people go, how do we know who's actually this thing, as the female scientist discovers that it in fact can clone cells, that it takes people's cells, takes them over, and then imitates them.
What are those?
I think they're fillings from someone's teeth. I found them by a puddle of blood in the shower.
Puddle of blood?
It can clone cells, but not inorganic material. It couldn't copy these, so it spit them out.
We wasted too much time already. Lars!
Listen! When I went back to check it, someone had cleaned up the blood. Someone had wiped it away. All right, so whatever it is still here.
There's a moment that it feels like it's just going to go down the same path from there on out.
Right.
But it doesn't. It goes a different way entirely, because there's that point where it suddenly goes, you know what? People have already seen The Thing. Let's make this just a flat-out monster chase movie. And that, in my mind, is where the film made a really good decision.
It's one of those things where, it's almost like it realizes, like, look, there's no way we can do that. We can't pull that off again.
Yeah.
So let's just make a good monster movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll set our sights lower and focus on our strengths, and from that it works. Plenty of scares. Made us jump a bunch.
Reminded me of kind of Slither in a way, in the way that it was like just these really bizarre effects that you're like, wow, that is strange. It doesn't look real, in the sense that you're like, okay, I know that CG I'm looking at, and most of the time, although they do use some practical in this, but it's so creative and it's so fucking nasty.
Well, that's the thing. Like one of the best practical effects they have is before things really get going, where they open it up and dissect the creature. Well, I think that's they kill it and they open it up to find out.
Which I'm familiar with the original. Yeah.
Yeah, and that scene, like what they do with the effects there, that's award winning. It looked so real.
All I've heard was CGs, because I think even Tim League mentioned something about that, about just the CG looking terrible.
You know what? This is the same company that did District 9. Okay?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so people keep talking about the CG like that, and I keep saying, I'm sorry, you must have been looking for the practical effects movie that is the original The Thing. Yeah, a lot of it is CG. Not all of it is perfect CG, but a lot of it is fucking great.
Some of it looks really good, and some of it doesn't. It's just like that when they dissect it, it's all practical, and that looks awesome.
I was with you at Footloose. I didn't see the movie. I walked in for about 5 minutes. When I went in there and watched that 5 minutes, I happened to catch a CG part. And I'm not holding this against the movie at all, because I don't like the whole special effects against a movie that will engage me. But that little bit of CG that I saw, it looked bad. But it probably looked bad because it was an alien body with all these different appendages coming out of it, and in the center of it was one human head. And that human head seemed to like
that was probably-
I thought that was probably the worst.
okay, that human head seemed like it was just floating.
Because it starts out with that one straight up practical effect. Then you can start to see like, okay, they're using practical with CG. Okay, now they're using just CG. And then by the end, it's that effect you saw, which I'm like, okay, that I actually don't like at all.
And I have to
it's,
say
it's
that by
too
the-
much. It's overwrought.
Well, you know
They've
what?
gone crazy with it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, and even then, I'm going to be like, well, at the end of John Carpenter's The Thing, we started out with great practical effects, and then by the end of it, they had some of the worst stop motion I'd ever seen.
Right. True. I mean, that happens. The problems with the movie begin with where it starts to fall short early on is the characters, because you got a bunch of Swedes out there. You don't really get to know many of them.
No.
So when they get bumped
Barely.
off, you don't really feel it. And even like the American actors, you don't really know them. I mean, who you really know is Mary Elizabeth Winstead and the guy who hired her, who's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and presumably Joel Edgerton, because it's clear early on, hey, that's Joel Edgerton, so he must be a love interest possibly or something.
Yeah.
So you pay more attention to him at least.
So there's no sense of that tension that you got with the original to where
I mean,
you
there's
were
some.
familiar
I
with
won't say there's none, but not enough.
There's
not nearly enough.
Mainly because the jump scares tend to not be just fake scares. They tend to be, oh
Yeah.
shit, that was real and that guy just got totally wasted and it looked pretty fucking cool. You're constantly waiting for that. The advantage of having that many characters is that, hey, we got lots of characters to kill and really make it nasty.
Yeah, like watching it for a lot of it, I was like, man, you know what? If you don't think about the original thing, you can enjoy this as just, hey, this is a cool monster movie I haven't seen. But the ending requires that you've seen the thing.
Well, yeah.
I mean, honestly, they're like some movies you'd be like, well, you don't have to. No, because it's almost like it's over, and they go so far to bridge the gap between the movies that it's like it's a second movie that comes up.
Well,
It's like,
but that was always the case. It was always gonna be the case. That this is a prequel. This
but
is
it's almost like
the explanation.
But
for
but
what
like
happened.
where it's that like the first ending, it doesn't end strongly until so it has to go like, okay, now here we go to show you how we got from here to there,
Right.
and it's just kind of like, you guys,
See,
this is
I
leaving a
would
bad
ex-
taste in my mouth.
I expected that, like, this is a prequel. I mean, seems like there's enough in there to enjoy it without having seen it. And if you do see the end of it and you're thinking like, well, what was this about? It might get you to see John Carpenter's The Thing, which is that's something that's good to me. What I want to know is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Now, a lot of people, I would say a lot of people might know her as this character, but not a lot of people saw Scott Pilgrim. So she was Scott Pilgrim's love interest in that
Sure.
movie, Scott Pilgrim
Right.
versus the World. And a lot of people are saying, man, I ain't gonna go see The Thing. They replaced Kurt Russell with a chick in this movie, and it's like, and I think a lot of people are nervous because they were thinking, okay, we got a female lead in this movie. The movie's gonna like kind of pull back on a lot of action, and it's going to introduce possibly a love interest with like her and Joel Edgerton. They didn't do that.
No,
Okay.
not only do they not do that, but this is her movie to carry, and
Yeah.
she does.
And she's totally non-sexualized in this
Yeah.
film. This is not one of those just waiting for the shower scene type films. I mean,
She a Ripley
it's not
character?
that at all.
You know what? You know that annoying thing Ripley does in the first Aliens, where it's like she's really tough, she's smart, she's getting out, but then she stops to go back for that fucking cat, and that's that moment where you go like, "You dumb bitch." There's not one of those "you dumb bitch."
So there's a cat in this movie, and she looks at the cat and says, "Fuck you, I'm gone."
Actually, in fact,
As a matter of fact, Matt, she steps up and does something where you go like, "Oh."
yeah, if I
damn.
was in that position, I probably would have done the same
Oh,
thing.
absolutely.
But I love the fact that you're never really sure if she was even made the right decision or
Right.
not. She's just like, you know what? Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
It's like, I'm looking out for number one.
yeah. Well, I'm actually happy. You have me really interested. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Just hearing you two talk about it, because I'm still like scared shitless. Like I look at that movie like my kid, and I don't want nobody to talk shit about him.
Right.
And I'm just wondering like, is he doing good in school or what? I mean,
I think that the biggest flaw really isn't even in the things we've discussed so far, though. It's that, you know how in horror movies, and this is to be expected to a certain extent, that people do stuff that you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? No one would ever do that. There's several instances of that in here where I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, for instance, early on, when this alien thing, and it actually does kind of look at first like, like the Giger aliens
It's like
alien.
a giant fucking black cockroach.
Yeah, it's fucking
Oh, I thought you said
nasty.
fucking black
Black
cock.
man or something.
I was like, really?
This thing's got a giant
Almost
spike
like a beetle,
It's
sorta.
got a giant spiked tail and
Yeah.
talons for fingers fingers, and they're like, I mean, clearly this thing was not built for hugging. And it busts out of the ice, and they're like, oh my God, it's out there somewhere. And what do? They walk around with flashlights looking for it. Let's just look out for it with flashlights. It's like, flashlights? What the fuck are you going to do? Mildly irritated to death?
Gonna blind it.
You know? So what is that shit? But they make up for that by the fact that it actually is pretty fast paced. There's a lot of killing in this thing. A lot of people
there is a
die.
lot. I mean,
Pretty
I
bad.
thought there was a point where it slowed down. Like, I know they're building the tension, but I was like, maybe it slows a little too much. But then it gets going, and then it doesn't stop.
Well, those parts where you don't get a lot of monster, do they actually make an effect of the paranoia of people not knowing who is the creature?
Not really, because during that part I'm talking about, it's more them just looking around.
Yeah.
That would have been the time to have the tension, the paranoia, and it's not. It's more them like, well, goddamn, where is that thing?
What the
I thought
fuck
it was
are we
back over
gonna do?
here.
Now, just the last thing I want to ask about is the score. How is the score for this film?
You will hear strains of Ennio Morricone's original score for the thing. I mean, that was intentionally brought into it, but there was nothing in it that particularly made me pay attention to the score.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of times in films like this, I'm just not paying attention to the score that much the first time around. I got to see it again to really judge it. So I'm not going to say it was like a bad score or anything. I just largely didn't notice it. There's shit happening so fast after a certain point that you don't have time for those long suspense scenes. I mean, the goddamn thing is everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 8 of them basically running around at once, you know, at one point, and you're like, oh, okay, this kind of sucks to be there.
Yeah,
the whole place is on fire around them, and they're like, oh.
And there is weird shit like that when they're setting so much on fire. I'm like, you know what? You couldn't just stand around in a building that was this much on fire.
That was one of those inconsistency things.
And another inconsistency was the thing itself. Like, sometimes it could replicate somebody quickly, and other times it took a long time. And it seemed like at times, like, when you knew it could get small, but yet when it was convenient, it couldn't reach somebody because it was too big.
Right. Or this, for instance, the thing, like, sometimes it would be smart enough to be able to know everything that had happened to a guy and be able to communicate with other people, but then it was not smart enough to figure out, hey, maybe I should just turn back into a person now and stop wandering around like a big, like, squishy looking monster. It might improve my chances of survival.
It's far from a perfect film. I mean, it's full of flaws. I tell you right off the bat, and it's overall, not all that remarkable, and yet the things it does right, it does very right.
Can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
Did it kill the black man?
Let me put it this way: is a black man out where there's nothing but snow and ice? Now, what do you think his chances are?
No, I'm like Coles. I'm relieved that he got killed. Because I thought it was a creature that could like morph itself into anything, but then it'd probably be racist. Like, no, I don't want to be black. Looking at the,
I'd rather be an ugly monster from outer space
than be a black man. Black man.
Well, he's a rich, successful actor. Yeah, but I'm gonna see how this alien thing works.
I'd rather
he
do
turns
this.
into a black man, and first thing he looks around and goes, Jesus fucking Christ, it's so cold. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's the reason why.
Yeah, I thought I'm just gonna look at that brother and just the brother be like, "What? I ain't good enough to absorb."
I'd be like, hey, everyone, look at Mr. Echo. If he fucking starts acting like Flavor Flav, that's the fucking thing right there. All right.
I just see a giant monster like even about to attack, and that brother looks around that creature like, ugh, me, look at you, yeah, look at you, nigga. At least I ain't you. What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I am surprised nobody just shot him just because they had the chance right there.
Just threw his ass out there in front of the monster.
I think that everything you're saying, we seem to be on the same exact page here, Leon. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to like here, a lot, but it's like so intermixed with the flaws, and I don't feel like a lot of the flaws are really glaring. A lot of them, I went into this film looking for things to dislike, because it is a prequel to one of the greatest sci-fi horror movies ever made.
And there's been such bad word of mouth. You're like, all right,
so
how bad
I'm
is
sitting
this?
there waiting for this movie to not be that good, while at the same time desperately hoping that the few reviews I'd heard weren't true. And I think I came out the other side more satisfied than not, going, it's not going to supplant John Carpenter's The Thing. It's not even come close to supplanting it, but it's a decent splatter horror film in its own right. And I give it a matinee on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you on everything you said. I mean, I come in at more of a low matinee just because, you know what, what it does at the end, just like I said, it left a bad taste in my mouth where I'm like, man, you guys were so close to you just needed one more thing to just turn it around and make it. And yeah, it's got all those flaws. And like I said, co-host, you'll see it. I'm not sure where you'll come in on it, but I can just tell you, it's not the piece of shit you've been warned about.
Okay.
There's enough here to enjoy.
Good.
If you didn't know about the other thing, but you had people over on a night to like, hey, let's watch some scary movies, it'd be one of the ones you'd watch, and you'd probably go like, that was pretty good.
I just don't want it to be one of those movies when I'm fucking in the video store, if they're still around, and I see the original thing, which I love, and then right next to it, I see the prequel, and I'm like, why
Damn,
do you
so
sitting
so
right
how
there?
much is your thing check every month that you get?
It's pretty hefty.
I ain't seen you like cry this hard since Green Lantern was a bomb.
I fucking love the thing, all right? I love it. I love John Carpenter's. I fucking love it. I worship
the biggest difference is the original thing, or at least the John Carpenter's thing, was so much more about the characters, whereas this one tends, to its discredit, it gets to be more about the monster.
That's funny,
Just
man.
showing too much of it, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It's like I said, a totally different type of movie. It's
Yeah.
not trying to be the original
Right.
thing, and that's probably the best decision they could have made. But it's also irritating a fuckload of people who are like, what is the deal with that?
And yeah, man, I love John Carpenter's thing the way you
You
do.
better.
So I feel bad. I feel bad like talking about this movie like this. I was going around telling people like, well,
You didn't give a shit. All right, let's get to the
I
point.
didn't know. I didn't
When
know.
I talked to you about it, you're like, look, I don't even know why you care. I don't know why you give a shit.
I still don't know why you
Come
care.
on.
It's like
That's
the
what I'm
original
saying.
is still there. It's like that's for me. I love the thing.
I
Too.
guess
That's-
part of it is
listen,
that because like I think the idea of doing a prequel to the thing is a pretty solid idea, and now no one else can do that. It's like, oh well, they did that, and now if you don't like it, then they fucked that up.
Well, I just didn't care because I felt like everything I saw in that trailer looked like everything in the 1982 film, and I was just like, I've seen this before. Why do I need to go see it again? If it's good, it's good. I'll be all right. If it's bad, it's bad. I didn't give a shit in the first place. I don't know if I still need to see this movie anyway. I felt like I've already seen it. I remember being at a party with y'all. Well, let's just say I had some bad shit, and I saw Leon and Cyrus standing next to each other, and they morphed into each other real quick, and I was like, that's horrifying enough to me right there.
you still owe me $20 for that good shit, by the way.
You two still need to separate from each other. 'Cause I ain't recovered yet.
We can't let this thing leave. If it makes it out of here, millions of people could die.